Well, hello. Seems like been a long time since we've talked. It's because it's been a long time since we've talked. Uh, Bolton Airport came across some federal funding for some upgrades to the runway, or um, basically it was kind of wavy, and they wanted to flatten it out, mostly for the jets that come in here. And also, there were areas where it was older concrete and the foundation didn't go deep enough. The standards have changed, so they dug those up and put new foundation under it. They're also, in November, they're going to close it for a couple days again to put some grooves in the runway, because I believe those aforementioned jets have been having potential hydroplaning issues. And I may have talked before about Alpha 3, which is the runway, or the taxiway I usually depart the runway from. It points right into the parking ramp, which is in the view of the FAA, and I believe correctly, just asking for accidental runway incursions going the other direction. Somebody coming down from the parking ramp going right out onto the runway. So they've removed that. And the taxiway formerly known as Alpha 4 is now Alpha 3, and 5 and 6 have become 4 and 5. So now we have 5 taxiways, which seems like plenty. So that's where I've been. I took the opportunity to do my annual. And in the annual, I fixed some of the things that have been nagging me. One of which is this headset. I can bump the connector now and not have it cut out on me at the most inopportune time, which always seemed to be right after I called Bolton Tower for arrival instructions. I would bump the headset and it would stop working, and they'd give me my directions, and I heard none of it. So that actually, I was about to give up on that. I had a lot of time to work on it, but back when I had the transponder done, a few months ago, I talked to the guys at the avionics shop, and they took a look at it, and they swore that it was down at the bottom of the jack. It's a stereo jack, so there's 2 parts of the headset plug that go in there. The most, one of them goes all the way down to the very tip, and they thought the problem was in the tip not making good contact with the brass connector in there. I couldn't see anything like that. It looked like it was working perfectly, and I was about to give up on it when a very smart guy that actually helped me build the airplane suggested that I take a look at just adding a dedicated ground wire. And that made a lot of sense, because I've always suspected it to be a grounding problem. And it turned out to be. As soon as we added that dedicated ground wire, the problem cleared itself up. So the normal way, the van's way of having us ground those headset jacks, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it just wasn't working for me, was to, there's a hole in the floor where the jack goes down through, and then there's a washer. You scrape off some paint, and the washer, there's a nut that holds all that in, and that puts washer in contact with the airframe. Well, when I did that, the jack was kind of loose and wiggly, so I added another washer. So basically I had 2 washers there, and I think what was happening was as I would jiggle that, those washers would not make the greatest contact to ground and give me all kinds of heartbreak. So with the dedicated ground wire, it seems to be working much better, and that's really good news, because that was really driving me nuts. So here we are. We're going to take it out for a flight. Other things I did during the annual, I don't know if you can see this down here, that's my backup GPS in case I ever lose the Dynon. You've never seen it before because it was always in that map box, because I only had one 12-volt cigarette adapter. Now I have 2. It was $6.99 from Amazon. It's the exact same one that Van sent me, and all I had to do was cut another hole and wire it in. So now I can run the GoPro and my backup GPS simultaneously, which is a kind of a nice thing also. Other than that, I did, well, actually the very smart guy that had me add that ground wire also noticed that the wire that runs to my oil pressure sensor had kind of a tight bend in it. So I took all that apart and gave it some strain relief and mounted it and got in the airplane, and my oil pressure wasn't working. So basically that wire must have been on the very edge of breaking, and my just having worked on it broke it. So I had to get back in there and fix that. But other than that, there really wasn't much to do on the annual. It's I guess I've probably flown it 20 hours since the last one, so there's not a lot to break, but you do take a look at everything. That's part of the annual, and it went very, very well. So we're going to go out and fly it. Suspect everything will work just fine. Oil pressure is fixed. I've got headsets. I got backup GPS. I moved. I don't know if you can see this either. I carry a little can of fire extinguisher. It's been in the back, where it would be very hard to get at if I needed it in the air. It's now mounted up here. It's not well mounted. I'm going to have to find a little bit better way. Right now it's just Velcro. I don't really trust it. I'm going to find a better way, and maybe even a better fire extinguisher. That's not the greatest fire extinguisher. So it looks like the oil's just about ready. I'm going to call the tower. I'm going to call them and speak very slowly. Just before everything fell apart with taking the airplane down and the runway being closed, I was flying back into Bolton, and they have a new controller up there, and he told me I was talking too fast and he couldn't understand a word of it, which is probably true. The guys that have been here for the 2 or 3 decades that I've been flying in and out of here are very, very experienced. They're generally retirees now working for a private state-funded tower. Whoever pays for a tower, it's a private tower, it's not federal. So they can work a little bit longer. They don't have the mandatory retirement age. But he did tell me I was talking too fast, and I can see how that could be because I tend to just let it fly out. So I'm working on slowing down my talking with the tower simply because that's good practice anyway. So we'll see if that helps. I don't see why it wouldn't, and it doesn't cost me a thing, so I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and give these guys a call. We'll taxi down to the runway. I'll turn the camera back on just before takeoff so you can see how smooth the runway is. It should be full table flat now. It should be noticeable. Maybe not so much in the camera, but it'll be noticeable to me, I hope, because it's almost a month without flying. But anytime they can fix up the airport, that's a good thing. So give these guys a holler and make sure everything's working. Bolton ground, experimental 284 Delta Golf at the T hangars, ready to taxi, departing VFR westbound.
Experimental 284 Delta Golf, Bolton ground, runway 22, taxi via taxiways Bravo and Alpha, wind 220 at 5, altimeter 3018.
Taxi Bravo to Alpha to runway 22 for Delta Golf. And 3018, I had that within 100th, that was pretty good guess. They've also filled in all the cracks with this black tar, which is still fresh enough that it melts in the sun, and I go home and track rubber, all black tar into the house, and that gets me in a little bit of trouble. So I've been kind of tiptoeing around it, but right out in front of my hangar you can't see it because it's behind us. It's just a big black pool of that stuff. But they're trying to fill in the cracks because obviously water gets down there, it freezes, it expands, and it causes even more cracks. So they've also been painting some of the lines. They haven't painted lines in front of my hangar yet, but this one is brand new. You see how bright and yellow that is. Apparently they don't have any kind of guidance. It's kind of zigzaggy. But it's really nice that they're fixing the place up. They came around with pressure washers and cleaned up some of the hangars. I'm hoping they'll come oil my hangar door. Or grease my hangar door. They're supposed to do it every 6 months. Hasn't been done for a couple years, and it was bone dry, and I could just hear metal eating metal as I was running the door up and down, so I put some of my own grease on it, which probably is not appropriate. But I think they're just, they're starting to pay a little more attention to that kind of thing for whatever reason, and it's always welcome. So we're just going to roll on down to the runway, and I'll talk to you in a bit. It bears mentioning, I think I can zoom this in, maybe you can see it, there's a kind of a big orange circle there. That indicates that there is a home football game tomorrow. What they've started doing, that's actually, there's NAAA TV, that's the new TV news helicopter that flies out of Bolton. So they've got the TFR in place already. It's really nice that they just show up. It comes in with the ADSB, that's a wonderful thing. I have no idea who they're playing tomorrow. My wife is sure to know. She's a big time fan. I'm a graduate from there, and my experience with that institution was not positive. I hear it's a great place to be a grad student, not so great to be an undergrad, even worse if you're a non-traditional, which for me meant I was out in the military and working full-time and needed a lot of night classes, and they're really not, they're so big, they're just not equipped to handle small special cases. They would do things like I'd sign up for a Monday, Wednesday chemistry class at night, but I had to show up in the middle of the day for midterms and exams while I was working, so their answer to that was, too bad. So I don't have a fond place in my heart, but she's into it. My father-in-law was a professor emeritus out of there, so they're very steeped in the Ohio State tradition. So we got a football game tomorrow. We got a TFR in place, and I can see it right there, which I think is really neat stuff. Here we are at the end of the runway. I'm going to do my run-up, and then we'll be off. Okay, did a extra long run-up and kind of a final check, canopy latch and all that, because it's been a while since I've flown. Got the checklist out, made sure I didn't forget anything, everything's fine. I even have a direct to back to Bolton. I didn't forget to do that, although that's not hard to do when I'm in the air. Altimeter is set, we're really ready to go, so let's get a look at this fancy new runway. Bolton Tower, experimental 284 Delta Golf, ready for takeoff runway 22 at Alpha 1, departing VFR westbound. It's hard to talk slow.
Experimental 284 Delta Golf, Bolton Tower, runway 22, turn right on course, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff runway 22, turn right on course for Delta Golf. Boy, I forget what I'm trying to say when I take that long to say it. It kind of disrupts my flow. This is going to be harder than I thought it was going to be. And that is the guy. That's the guy that had talked to me before. So I picked a good day to try to implement his advice. It's just going to take a little practice. Wow, that is a very flat runway. You can see all the way to the end. No dips, hollows, swales, whatever. Look at that. I don't know if you can tell or not, but that is just, that's amazing. Looks really, really nice. Okay, here we go. Smooth as glass. I wonder what's going to happen when the grooves are in. I don't know how my tires are going to feel about grooves. And there we go. He's flying good. Pretty gorgeous day. It took a while for the clouds to raise up. They're at 3,500 now, AGL, so that's plenty for me. Been foggy every morning this week. As a matter of fact, the entire time the runway was closed, the weather was beautiful, and the day it opened, it started raining and raining and raining. So there have been a couple nice days since then where I just simply I wasn't able to get out and fly. Today's the first time, and I'm not going to fly for long. I've got 6 or 7 gallons of fuel. Actually, the mechanical gauge says half tank, which is 10, but that's really 8 because it can't see all of it. And I don't really like to fly it down any much more than 3 or 4. So we're just going to fly around for a little bit, make sure everything keeps working, and just kind of get used to flying again. I must say, it really feels good to be back in the air. Really missed it. Generally, sometimes through the winter, I've been flying long enough that sometimes through the winter, I'm like, do I really need to keep doing this? Do I really want to keep doing this? There's a lot of work involved in it. There's a lot of expense. And then I fly for the first time of the year. It's like, oh yes, now I remember why I do this. It's just, I'm not sure it's something I'll ever give up. But it feels very nice today, for sure. Well, we reached the chop level. It's interesting. It was very smooth until we got to about 3,000 feet. Now we picked up quite a bit of turbulence. I mean, not horrible, but noticeable. Kind of interesting that it's get up a little higher to find that. Usually the higher you go, the smoother it is. Actually, it's smoothing out now again too. So it must be just a few pockets of air. So hopefully this is recording well, and I have not managed to screw up my ability to record audio while I'm flying. And, we're going to climb to about 3,500, and I'll get outside of Bolton's airspace, and then I'm just going to do some steep bank 360s and things like that, just some air work, just a little bit of practice. Nothing difficult, nothing really even all that interesting, just a little bit of practice, and kind of let it all come back to me. Now we're clear of Bolton's airspace. There's no traffic showing on the scope, and I've done a couple turns looking. I don't see anybody around. So I'm going to do, we'll start on a cardinal heading. It's helpful to start on a cardinal heading and say north. And I'll get myself to 3,500. And then we're going to do a steep bank turn, 360-degree turn, and try to maintain altitude and all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and helps me a little bit to line up my heading bug to 000, and all I got to do is look for that little purple bug. Okay, we'll do the first one to the left. I should turn on the G meter. We're probably pulling a couple G's now. I am losing altitude. Got to get that nose up. We're halfway through the turn. I've lost 100 feet, which is not good. Not up to standards. And here comes north. Now we can roll into one to the right. Now the right will be a little bit different. I'll probably gain altitude because the torque of the engine is working in the opposite direction. So off we go to the right. Sure enough, I was gaining altitude. There we go. There we go. Now we're dropping it again. Got to get the nose back up. Oh, I'm very sloppy at this. Very sloppy. Lost about 80 feet. Put up on west. Down to 3,400. Very sloppy on an altitude. Shame. There we go. It's perfect. Settle down and roll out north. Well, that one. Either one of those were terrific. That's why we practice. Got a little bit of ADS-B test going on. We have traffic coming right at us. 700 below, 5 miles out. Looks to be changing heading quite a bit. Not sure what that is. It was out over the highway, I-70. A lot of times that's the highway patrol orbiting around and trying to catch speeders in the most expensive way possible. This guy just climbed a couple hundred feet. Could be a student out doing same kind of thing I was doing, stalls and things of that nature. He has now turned almost completely away from us. It's interesting. 5 miles away, it's a little bit hazy, and he's 500 below me. I'll never see him. Generally, I can't see him until they're within 2 or 3 miles. went ahead and dialed in Madison County to the GPS. Maybe we'll go out and do a couple touch and goes. I might as well get current, get my 3 landings in. As long as we're up here, might as well do something productive. So I have to get on the frequency there, which I believe is 123.0, but we're going to take a look anyway because we don't trust our memory at all. Com is 123.0, so that's the Unicom. Let's take the AWAS first. We'll tune that, move it over.
Below.
There we go.
2,000 temperature.
So I want Unicom on the second one.
2.12.
There we go.
Altimeter 3017.
That's actionable. We'll drop 100 off. There we go, 3017. And we are 10 miles out.
Madison County Airport.
Automated weather observation 1835 Zulu weather wind 220 at 5.
Okay, runway 27. Good to know.
10.
Now we'll go over to Unicom. We're going to land on 27, which means I really want to get south of the airport so I can enter on left downwind for 27. So we're going to scoochie on down south a little bit here and go over to the town of London and approach in a more realistic way than straight in. I don't want to do a straight in, particularly on a hazy day. I just don't like them in general. We'll go on down to the town of London. We'll head north from there, and we'll do a left pattern for 27.
West of the field inbound, request airport advisory, Medina.
Well, our pad picked up a little bit of traffic coming directly towards us 300 feet. There he is, 200 feet below. Looks like it's getting intercepted 6 miles out, or 5 miles out now. That actually could very well be the highway patrol because that's right along the highway. So it's going to bear keeping an eye out for him. Actually, there's 2 of them out there now. So I'll keep our eyes open the best we can. It is kind of hazy out here. Can't see much, but we're heading away from them. We're heading south to where they're going. And if it's highway patrol, they never get very far away from the highway anyway. But Bear's now he's same altitude, so he's climbing, or I'm descending. Actually, I'm descending.
Better traffic coming 2354, it's raised 4.5 miles north.
Still 4 miles away, so not really a factor, but I really love having this. That is so helpful to know that they're out there. Oh, now I picked up another one. 1,000 below. Looks like he might be left downwind for 27 at Madison County. So not talking on the radio, whoever he is, and he's at 3,000 feet, which is kind of high for pattern altitude. So not sure what's going on with that. But kind of busy out here. I guess it's, like I said, it's first nice day for a while, and people are getting out to fly, even on a work day, Friday. Just got to keep our eyes open.
Downward traffic system 745 is left down.
So we're about 3 miles south of the airport, and what we have out here is a couple of
jumpers over
prisons out here that make great landmarks. And what I tend to do to get my 45 degree angle entry to the left downwind is fly right over the prisons. Sets me up perfectly. I'm going to kind of circle around them, and that'll put us on our downwind.
Sounds like you'll beat us there. We're, like I said, we're about 4 minutes down.
And we're at 2,500 right now. Pattern altitude here is 2,100, so we'll lose our 400 feet on our way. Once we're past the prisons and on the way to the downwind, we'll drop that extra 400 feet. I do need to practice. I've been having trouble, not terrible degree of trouble, but I'm not holding my altitude as well as I'd like, up and down and off by 50 feet or so at a time. And that's just rust. And it's kind of bumpy too, so I'm getting a little bit of, not getting any help from the up and down drafts. Now we'll go ahead and make our turn here.
Madison County traffic, experimental 284 Delta Golf is over the prisons, inbound for a left downwind runway 27, touch and go, Madison County.
That's all you'll ever need to know about me. My autobiography, written small. Now we got to get it slowed down, and do remember that. You got to slow it down the lane.
You got you in flight, it will be no factor for us.
I didn't catch who he was talking to, but it sounded far away. That could also just be a crappy radio. You just don't know. But we're looking. You need to get slowed down here. There we go. There we go. Nicely set up. I don't want to aim directly at the airport because we do have a crosswind from the left. It's going to blow me towards the middle of the field anyway. So we're kind of aiming at the departure end, and we'll end up at midfield. In theory, if everything works out. Looking pretty good.
Altitude Warrior 84054 is about 5 miles to the north, inbound for the 45, the downwind for runway 27. Roger, it's 4 Delta Golf. I'm just shy of midfield left downwind for runway 27 at Madison County. We'll keep our eye out for you, Warrior 84054.
I got him right there. I see him.
For runway 15 into Metro. Madison County traffic, 4 Delta Golf is midfield left downwind 27, touch and go, Madison County.
I can't get the temperature the way I want it. I'm either too hot or too cold.
The jumper is Frankfurt.
All right, we're below flap extension speed, so down they go. And we trim back up to takeoff trim because that gives us just the right glide angle, in my experience. There we go, and in my airplane, your mileage will vary. Alrighty, we're beaming the numbers, we're still not going down. I gotta really get some throttle off of this thing. That Warrior he's still north of the runway, so he's a little bit behind us yet. We're not gonna be a factor to him. He will probably be in downwind by the time we make our touch and go. And I'm only gonna do one more landing here. I'll do another one back at Bolton, that gives me my 3. More air, please. Okay, left base.
Madison County traffic, 4 Delta Golf, left base 27.
Kind of a long pattern I'm flying here. I'm a little bit out a little wider than I usually am. Rusty. Still got to get the feels. He's going to end up being, as I'm coming off the runway, he's going to be right in front of me. I'll have to watch for him. Still a little bit high on the approach. We're going to slip it a little bit. That looks better. I'm not picking up the traffic now that I'm down too low. I can't see him anymore. Really watch out for him on our climb out. That's a bird. I see a bird.
Yeah, Madison County traffic, 4 Delta Golf is on the go from runway 27 looking for the incoming traffic.
That's a hint, buddy.
Madison County traffic, Warrior 84054 is 5 miles to the west, heading towards the 45 to downwind for 27.
You're right there. I'm not sure about that, buddy.
Yes, 4 Delta Golf, I've got you in sight, I'll just flick in behind you.
He's way out there.
Skydiving in progress over Frankfurt.
I could probably have gone in front of him. He's way out there. But, be polite.
Middletown traffic to be skydiving over Middletown in 1 minute for 4,000.
Alright, one more touch and go, then back to Bolton. We're at 5 gallons of gas, so we got plenty of gas, but we don't need to run it all the way down. Oh, it's a pretty day. Nice day to not be working. Actually, every day is a nice day to not be working. Who am I trying to kid? Alright, we're just about to beam him, so we're going to go ahead and turn our crosswind and give him, want him far enough in front of us that he can make his downwind and landing, and we don't come up on him.
Madison County traffic, Warrior 84054 is on the
84054.
downwind for runway 27.
054, 054. I want to remember that so I can call him out by name. 054. I swear it looks more like a Cessna than a Warrior. It's pretty far away though. Wow, I thought I flew a wide pattern. He's way out here. That's okay. He may be in the same boat I am, just trying to get current again. Oh, he's slow. Oh, I got to slow way down. We're catching up with him. Oh, now it looks like a Warrior. Definitely see the low wing now. Alright, that should be plenty of room for him. Oops, took my eyes off of him. There he is. Don't dare take your eyes off of him. They're hard to find.
County traffic, Warrior 84054 is on the downwind for runway 27.
Middletown traffic, open parachute over Middletown.
I wonder if he's full stop. I guess I could just assume full stop or he would be saying something about it. Oh, we get plenty of room either way. And there's the prisons. Did I say two? I think we have three of them out here. Although I think one of those, man, I'm not sure. There's this is where like a lot of Ohio law enforcement comes to train. They have a training facility out here. And two, if not three, big prisons. Alright, we're about 2 miles behind him, so that should be plenty. He's doing 80 knots. I mean, it's not like he's crawling. He could turn base any day now. I lost sight of him again. Where'd he go? Where'd he go?
And Manson County traffic, Warrior 84054 is turning base flight for runway 27.
There he is. Yep, turning help. Gave me a lot more wing to look for.
Leaving altitude.
Now, once he's beamed me on my left, I can go ahead and turn downwind. Well, if he's full stop, he should be able to stay out of my way, but we'll give him plenty of room. There's no reason not to. It's not Oshkosh.
Leaving altitude.
But the general rule of thumb is once he's a beam, you're good to go. And he's turning final right now.
Warrior 84054 is turning final for runway 27.
Alright, he's about 45 over my short. That should be enough.
Madison County traffic, 4 Delta Golf, turning left base 27, touch and go. Number 2 behind traffic on final, 4 Delta Golf.
Alright, let's get the flaps down. Get it slowed down, and then we can go down. Let's do our trim. Alright, he's just about, he's going to land right on the numbers. Got him in sight. He should be able to make that second turnoff easily. Oh, looks like he's trying for the first. Oh, good job. Good job. No, he slowed down enough for the first and went rolling right on past him.
Traffic, Warrior 84054 will be taxiing off runway via Charlie.
Okay. You could have made Bravo, but hey, who am I to judge? There he goes.
Traffic.
Yeah, that's me. Oh, he's going to taxi back. Okay. He's basically doing a stop and go. So that's a student that's not yet ready for touch and goes, maybe? Come on, baby, down, down, down. Oh, whoa. Plopped it in. That was terrible. Ugh. You need practice. There we go. Get this front wheel. Oh, there's a new sound from the engine I'm going to have looked at. Huh. Okay. Well, that was a terrible landing. Let's hope we do better back at Fulton. That was just awful. Floating right up until the second it wasn't. And that was interesting. I've heard kind of a squeaking coming from the engine I've never heard before, so if that ends up being chronic, I'm going to have that looked at. Sounds like something rubbing. departed Madison County back towards Bolton, looking for Lily Chapel, which is the big green elevator I use as a reporting point. And now I gotta coach myself again to keep my talking slow and try to get used to speaking more slowly on the radio.
Experimental 284 Delta Golf Bolton Tower, report a right midfield downwind for runway 22. Wind is 240 at 4, altimeter 3017.
Report midfield right downwind, runway 22 for Delta Golf.
Oh, that was better. That wasn't so bad at all. So we're 5 miles out and
Bolton Tower, helicopter
There he is.
980. We would like to depart the pattern to the northeast.
oh, good. He had been doing touch and goes, and
Juliet Sierra, left turn on course approved.
that's tricky with helicopters because they fly a much different pattern than I do.
980 Sierra, left turn approved.
So he's on his way out. That's not a bad thing for us at all. I mean, I have no problem with helicopters, but they do fly a much more compressed pattern, and of course it's the tower's job to keep us separated, but it makes it easier for me to understand where people are going to be and what they're going to be doing when it's not a helicopter. So we got 4 miles to go. We're just going to enter the, I believe he told me right downwind for 22. Port midfield. So we're in our descent down to, we're going from 2400 down to 1700, which is the traffic pattern altitude of Bolton. I can see downtown very clearly. It's actually turned out to be a really, really nice day. A lot of the haze, I mean, this is like a summertime haze, so it's normal. So good view of the airport there. New runway markings, it really stands out with that new paint on the runway. Very helpful. Hearing that squeaking, wanting to come back. Just wanting to come back, but just, very light. No idea what that could be. Okay, there's pattern altitude. We'll start slowing down to flap extension speed. All right, and there's that, but we don't need to put them down quite yet. The helicopter's on the other side of the runway. No, not a factor at all. We're just going to slicky on into we're just about midfield. I want him to know right over there we go.
10 Bolton Tower, 284 Delta Golf is midfield right downwind, runway 22.
That was fast, damn it.
Experimental 4 Delta Golf, runway 22, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 22 for Delta Golf.
That was better. Old habits die hard. As I could say, old habits die hard. Old habits die really hard. Alright, let's get our trim set up. See if we can get a better landing here. Only need to thump it in again. That was terrible, just terrible. No excuse for not landing this airplane very, very well because it's a very easy airplane to land. I'm still hearing a little something from the engine. I would think it was a slipping belt if it had any belts, but the alternator is actually built into the engine. There's no belt out there to slip. Well. Oh, I forgot. Alpha 3 being gone, Alpha 4 is another 500 feet or so down the runway, so I don't need to stretch all the way out here on downwind. We're going to go ahead and land long so we don't end up taxiing half a mile. So actually I could have cut my base a little earlier.
Bolton Tower, helicopter 980 Sierra, clear the Delta to the northeast. Thanks.
Which is lucky because again I have too much altitude again, so that's going to work out perfectly. It's almost like I did it on purpose. And if I hadn't been yapping about it, you'd have thought, man, look at that, he did that just right. Secret to my success is obfuscation of mistakes. That sound, that's irritating. I'm going to have to figure out what that is. Mysterious behaviors of the Rotax 912. You can see See a green patch where they just planted the grass where Alpha 3 used to be. It's not that much more of a taxi. It's not horrendous. Not like we have to go all the way down the other end of it. Whoa, hell of a gust there. That was really something. We're in a huge lift here. That just doesn't want to land. It doesn't want to land. There it goes. Wow. That just floated and floated and floated at idle.
Experimental 4 Delta Golf, turn right, taxiway Alpha 3. Taxi to parking, evade taxiways Alpha and Bravo. Monitor ground to parking.
Right, Alpha 3, Alpha to Bravo, monitor ground to park, 4 Delta Golf.
That was too fast. Won't like that at all. But I was busy. I had other things to do. Okay, so we're not going up Charlie. We had been going up taxiway Charlie. He's got me going down to Bravo. Okay. The only problem with that is if there's another plane coming out, we go nose to nose on the taxiway. And they had adopted for a while Charlie in, Bravo out, but hey, he knows if there's something coming. I don't. So we'll just do what we were told to do. Go on down to Bravo. And there you can see the old Alpha 3. All gone. You can see the problem. So you could come right down here, straight out to the runway, not really noticing. And that's a bad thing. Runway incursions are really, really dangerous. Okay, well, I'm going to shut you guys down. Thanks for riding along.